Hello, everyone. This is WiscWeb's May Lunch and Learn. I know that it's not going to be May. It's already May, but we didn't get a chance to introduce the Justin Timberlake meme yet. So he's there on the slide. Thank you for joining. I'm Jenna Klinner. I'm the service coordinator for the WiscWeb team. I'm joined here by Matt, who's also on cam with his sidekick, Watson. And we have a couple other folks who'll be chatting today. We have Andrea Roning, who's a dev on the WiscWeb team, and we have Ketter Joyner, who is a designer and UX person for the Stratcom team. Actually, Ketter, what is your title? I don't know the official title.
UX UI architect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is, and this is Ketter.
Hey.
Before we get started today, I just have a little poll that I was going to share with you all. Let's see if we can get it posted. Ugh, it didn't save. That's lovely. Well, Zoom issues. My question for you today is, what are you excited about for spring? And I had a couple of prompts, things like gardening and flowers, baseball, warmer temps, farmers markets, outdoor activities. If you have something that you're super excited about right now, post in the chat. We'd love to learn more about what you're getting into. Matt, I don't know. Are you excited about baseball? I don't know if I know the answer to that one.
Let me tell you something. It's a rare occurrence for me to be excited about the fact that the Chicago Cubs are your first place team in the National League Central. So, yes, I am excited about baseball. Well, also, my son's a senior on the high school baseball team.
Good point.
He starts at third base, so it's been a fun spring.
That's awesome. Looks like we have a ton of ideas here. So patio bevies, absolutely. Getting the first bike ride in for the season. Sand volleyball, bike rides. Yeah, I didn't think about bike rides. That's a good one. Bird watching. Ooh, that's cool. Any particular birds, Megan? Anything fun that you saw yet this spring? You can answer in the chat if you want. Warm weather, yeah, beekeeping, go Cubs, outdoor concerts. That's yes. Drawing outside, planting your plants, and of course, yes, walking Watson. Ooh, migrating waterfowl. I've seen a ton of sandhill cranes. That's cool. They're so cute when they fly. Night markets. Madison really has some good stuff going that starts around this time, which is exciting. Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing. We can get started. We have a fun little agenda today. We're just going to do a couple of updates and reminders, and then we have tons of Gutenberg demos for you today, which is super fun stuff. I think it's good for you to be able to see what's been brewing with us. So first, I will just chat through some updates and reminders for you all. First, as a reminder, we did share some information to our user list about Google Sheets tables for WP data tables. So within that email, we did send the recommendation that you update existing tables that are powered by Google Sheets. The reason for that is we do expect that the Google vendor is going to change things eventually, and we won't know when that will happen. And so it's kind of just going back and updating the way that you're linking to those sheets. It doesn't have to be an overnight thing, but definitely good to start thinking about. I am aware that some of you have many tables powered by Google Sheets. It's okay to just kind of slowly go through those, but we do recommend doing it. And then just noting that for new tables, in order for those to work, there's a slightly different process that we emailed about. It is also in the knowledge base. I don't know, Matt, if you're willing to drop a little link in the chat there, but that's kind of the skinny on that. Sorry about that. Another update, customization requests. So I don't know how many of you are involved in the Workday ATP conversations that are happening on campus, but we are, and we've made some decisions related to customization requests to kind of help support our partners who are kind of more impacted by some of the billing changes. So we are not going to be taking any customization requests for June through mid-July. So these would be the things where you kind of can swap out the UW crest for a custom logo or change the campus red to another color. So from, I think it's June 2nd through July 18th is a period we're not going to take requests. And also after that point, because of the workday changes, we will no longer be prompting for D numbers. That is going away. So we will be prompting for your new Do It Billing customer ID. And then final update here, WordPress Core 681 will be released to our WiscWeb environment later this month. The notable update in that is just that your text tab, where you would normally kind of toggle to your source code if you ever do that in your text editor or post, is changing to the word code in the future. So you'll just note that change when that comes. And with that, that is everything that I had for today. So I am going to stop sharing. And then I think I'm kicking it over to Andrea and/or Ketter to chat about page title and breadcrumbs.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, hey, my name is Ketter. I'm a user experience architect with the Strategic Communications Group. And we are going to talk about a couple things. Andrea, do you want to share your screen? The first thing we're going to talk about is the page title, the page title of a page. So if some of you maybe participated in user testing in February, one of the things that we found was some people struggled to find the option for hiding a page title. And if you were in testing, this is what you saw at the time. So you can see there's a sidebar or drawer. Some people were calling it a drawer. We're still playing with that on the right-hand side. And so the people kind of struggled to figure out how to hide that and replicate one of our pages that was all about cryptids, if you remember, if anyone tried to recreate that one. So the user flow for this was you needed to find the page title in the page settings, like you see that little yellow bar over there in the toggle, to hide it, and then add the heading block to position it somewhere else on the page. So you hide the page title, and then you add like your own H1 to the page. And that allowed people the more flexibility to like place it elsewhere. The page title at that point was like fixed. You couldn't center it, you couldn't left align it, you couldn't move it around. It would just stay there. So we were kind of referred to this as like it was hard coded to the page. So there's a couple limitations with that I just kind of mentioned, but so it didn't allow for the flexibility to like move it around. It was either on or it was either off, and then you had to add that another block to kind of do what you wanted to do with it. And then also the editing experience in the Gutenberg editor, block editor, didn't match the published page. So like one of our goals with this entire project is to have the editor, what you're designing in the editor, match what you see on the front end. So that just like as a concept is just one of our goals and sort of guides how we're designing and doing things within the interface. So you can see here, like the spacing below the title was a little different. If you actually like published it, it didn't look that way. So we were like, oh, bummer. We want it to like match what you see. And then the page title, like I mentioned, was always fixed to the left. So you couldn't center align it for different use cases. Again, you had to add that heading block to do that if you wanted to do something a little more special. So another thing to, here, let me add this in the chat. In 2023, oh, thank you. We did, I'll add the link in here too. That's useful. We did, some of you might have taken this web needs survey. But WiscWeb users and some non-WiscWeb users also shared that they would like more design flexibility and options. And so like we were trying to come up with solutions for this page title that would give you a little bit more control of design, knowing that's something that we've been hearing from you all. So yeah, Andrea, you'll talk about the solution that the team worked on for like a new way for adding the page title that kind of helps meet this need that y'all were sharing with us.
Yeah, thanks to everybody who did user testing. I think this helped us open our eyes that right, we were trying to solve a problem and decided maybe there was a different way to solve this. So yeah, what we decided now, so here's a test site that is just on my local environment. Now, when you add a new page, you get a new experience. So you can see now there's a title block, and I can start typing in the title for this page. And yeah, you can tell it's the page title itself because it's changing up here. It's also going to change over here in the right page navigation. You can see the page title is also appearing here. But now that it's like it's a real block, we can do cool things with it. Like we could center it, or we could give it a larger margin. I could come over here and decide that I want that top margin to be bigger. I could decide to remove that red bar on the top. I could decide to come in here and maybe change the font size. Maybe I want this to be jumbo. Um, and one of the main reasons that we want to be able to do this is maybe I want to add something before it. So maybe I don't want my page title to be the first thing on this page. Maybe I want a cover block to be the first thing on the page, which is oftentimes if you've got like a really cool hero at the top of your page that, maybe it spreads full width. Um, Pretend this is actually a really cool design, not just a black box. Uh, So yeah, so we can now have a cover block above the title. That's cool. So now if I publish this page and take a peek at it, you can see where, right, here's my page title. You can tell it's the page title because it's also here in the tab and it is below the cover block. So the editor experience now more closely matches what you are seeing on your published front end as well. Yeah, and another like cool feature is that now if I want to put this title block, say inside the cover block, I can just drag it in and there it is. It's right there in the cover block, save it, and now my title, my H1, is now part of that cover block if that is what the design called for. So another cool part about this is that Nate, who's been doing the most of the development work on our migration piece, and yeah, our other developers have worked to make sure that if you are migrating a site in and your site, has titles, already on your pages, obviously you have page titles on your current UW themes pages. So those will import into your new Gutenberg thing when you do a migration. It'll come in as page titles as well. And then another interesting point is that so you'll see that this example site doesn't have breadcrumbs, and similar to the current UW theme, we have the ability to disable breadcrumbs site-wide. And let's see, I will pull open our site settings and show what these site settings are subject to change, but you may have seen these when you did some experimentation too. But yeah, now I have disable breadcrumbs checked. If I uncheck it, I can save changes and then I can check out what this page looks like with breadcrumbs. And I will pass it to Ketter to talk more about breadcrumbs.
Yeah. Yeah, so currently in the theme, the breadcrumbs, if you had a hero area, they always displayed below that. So yeah, that's in that example there. In the new theme, they will now be fixed to display below the navigation, as you're seeing in the other tab there. Yeah. So we looked at 16 different peer institutions to kind of be like, is this weird? Turns out it's not. It's a common way to do things. People do it like all kinds of different ways. We liked this solution because if people are familiar with Nielsen Norman Group, they provide a lot of like UX advice. One of the things that they recommend is keeping similar content grouped together. So because this is like a navigational element, I think this will help users who are on your site wayfind. They'll know, okay, that's going to be always near the main navigation and make it easier for them to get from one place to the next. Yeah, and also like so in the editor view, the breadcrumbs aren't editable in the editor view, so it helps keep it out of that place. So you're truly just seeing what it is that you're creating on the page. So it like groups it with that header area of things that like aren't editable in that interface on the page editor. So that was kind of like another rationale for doing it this way. They gave them like a slight style update. The biggest one was really just like reducing the top and bottom spacing since we're placing it up in this different area. Just didn't like need as much room. And yeah, that's that. Any
One,
questions? Oh, go ahead.
that's just what I was going to ask. Any questions about page title and breadcrumbs for Gutenberg?
Yeah, I'm really curious what people think about what they've seen here at the page title as well. Your kind of like initial reactions to that experience.
Just noting in the chat, we do have a few folks commenting. Awesome. I like the options to format the page title beyond what we could do during testing. Thank you. Love that the page title can be easily integrated into the hero image. Awesome. Well, excellent demo there, Ketter and Andrea. Thank you for sharing. And the background is super helpful and kind of tying it back to what we learned at user testing as well. So thank you for preparing that for this session. If you have any questions, feel free to post them in the chat. But then we'll kind of hand things off to Matt, who has several other little new features that he's going to show us.
All righty, share the screen. Move this. So get to the URL. Show you all. Chat. There's the chat. Okay. All right. I'm going to show the next little list of updates to the theme that we've been working on, some more of the blocks and some of the design patterns that we have. So I'm going to kind of go down the list that I had sent out earlier. So let's talk a little bit about the anchor idea. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the anchor idea, it's the jump link option. You click on a link, it jumps you down further into a location. The location that you land at is the anchor point. That's where you're dropping the anchor down to. So that kind of concept there. So I've just got a bunch of nonsense lorem ipsum here. I'm going to put my cursor where I want that anchor to appear. And then I'm going to go to advanced, and there's this HTML anchor spot right here. And so I'm just going to put in the jump title that I want it to go there. This will be the URL that I will use, or the value that I will use when I create the jump point to it. But essentially, you've got some context in there as to what you should enter. Enter a word or two without spaces. You'll notice that I use the hyphen instead of a space. So that is a legitimate way to do this via the anchor point. So put that in. And then now what I can do is go up top here, and I can highlight some text, create a link, and then for those of you who don't know, to create the anchor point, you have to use the hashtag #value, and then type in the value that you created. And I'll hit enter, and then that just generates the link down to where I'm going to go. So if I preview, that's that. So that's how you create them with text on the fly. I don't want to say it's simple, but it is straightforward. You enter a value, you create a link using the value and a hashtag to then create that jump point to that location. Does it enter the jump link wherever you click? Can you define that, Sheena?
Yeah, real quick. So I saw that when you entered the jump link, right? So you went down the page, you clicked at the top of that paragraph, and you
Yep.
put the jump link there. Okay.
Oh,
You were to click like a line down.
right here, for example.
Yeah.
So it's actually creating the jump link to the block,
Okay.
not
Okay.
to
Yep.
the text itself. So I
Perfect.
I clicked here just out of habit of doing that. But if you'll notice, if I click down here into like Kisquam,
Yep.
it still has that same anchor point down there. So
Yep.
you're creating the anchor point. So I guess this is a good way to define. You're not creating a little anchor point to a particular piece of text. You're creating it to a block that you have created. So if I were to put in a heading block, similar concept. Um, and I did the same thing. I clicked down here, add another anchor point. And now this heading block is the jump point, not anything else. So let's see. I'll add jump links to heading blocks. Yep. Existing jumps with the buttons migrate, or will we need to recreate jumps with this new technique? I guess Jenna, I yield that to you because you know a little bit more about the migration process.
Yeah, let's see. Will existing jumps with buttons migrate, or will this need to recreate jumps? That's a great question. I think that's something that we'll have to test, but I will add that to our migration testing criteria. That's something that we haven't gotten to yet. We're not quite that far, but I think it's a good thing for us to confirm.
Yep. And then Linda highlighted the entire paragraph. I didn't highlight the paragraph. I just clicked into the paragraph. I don't need to highlight anything. For me, it's a force of habit to highlight things because it that's how it used to work with certain things. That's how it kind of works with the knowledge base for how we create jump links in there. Um, so in this case, I don't I just click into the block that I want to create it as. Yes, Rachel. So that's one concept that we're going to have to make sure that people understand. I'm going to switch over to the list view real quick. And this is something that we were talking about this morning. We strongly encourage you as content creators and content editors in the new UW theme to get used to living in this list view right here, because what it does is it gives you an overview of all of the blocks that you are putting into your page, your content. And so now each one of those paragraphs is a block that I can choose. So
Just
yes,
oh,
each paragraph is a block. Sorry, Jenna, go ahead.
sorry. There was a question from Sarah. I wonder if we could do URL pound anchor to get an anchor on another page. And yes, you should be able to like link to your jump from another page.
Yeah, 1 second. Let me just let me publish this so that I can actually get a true URL for this. But if I click down to here, what you'll notice is there is the URL for that particular point, that jump point. So what you would do is if you had another page that you wanted to jump to, it would have to have an actual anchor point in it. You can't. I had this question a while ago I can't remember if it was KB or WiscWeb related, but it was something about if I wanted to jump to a specific point on a page, can I? And the answer is yes, if that particular page had jump links already created so that you had a URL like this that you could point to. You can't specifically create one and say, you know what, I want this to be Cupiditete. Cupiditate. Let's pick the hard words for Latin. I couldn't just randomly pick this as a jump point. It has to have the actual anchor coded in to create that jump link to it.
I also want to revisit my answer on the question about will existing jump links migrate. I didn't consider the fact that this was specifically referring to buttons. And I think what you might be asking is like when you create maybe like a button cloud that links to an internal page jump down the page. Yes, that we have tested. What I haven't tested yet is if you were to set a jump link in the content layout settings down the page, if that also migrates the anchor tag over. Hopefully that answers that question, but I'll pause in case there's any follow-ups.
Okay, so that's creating anchor links. Again, you create the anchor on the block. You then create the link using a hashtag to the anchor value that you created, which jumps down to the block that you have created the anchor for. So again, just a thought process to get yourself into, because it requires a somewhat similar thought process in the past of like, if I put a title in here and I center it, I could make this, oh, nope, title not jumpable. Let's go heading. Just pick. All right, let's do it this way. Delete. Slash heading. Similar to what Ketter was saying a little bit ago, if I align this center, I could make this a little bit larger. You could stand out. So in the past, yeah, I didn't want to get too far down the line of showing more advanced things for that type of stuff. So in the past, when you would create your column layouts, your 1 column, 2 column, 3 column layouts, in this settings area, you'd have like a name value to it, an ID value to it, row ID value. That's the concept of the anchor point. It's an ID value that you are applying to it. So now what you could do is, using a heading value, for example, a heading block, I could create the anchor point to that and then create my jumps down to those various things. A little bit similar to the question that was being asked about what's going to migrate over and things of that nature. But now I'm kind of talking about recreation or creation of that process of creating those jumps down to other sections of your page using headings as sort of like those separators. So in line with the thought of the anchor points and jumping down further into your page, there's also the new back to top button. And so if I go to my buttons here and I just type in back to search, this is one of the things that we were actually talking about this morning. If I just type in UW, what you'll notice is we have a number of UW prefixed blocks that we have added to the theme right now. We're talking about how to group these better, but how I'm going to train all of you, or how I'm going to recommend to all of you, is get used to searching for what you're thinking about. So in this case, if I want a back to the top link, I'm just going to type in back because I'm searching for the back to the top link. And then I can just enter that in. And similar to what we had for the short code before, we now have this back to top value right here. And what this does is it'll just jump you back to the top of the page that you are looking at, the top of the content. That's an excellent question, Christine. I think that is a larger conversation because it's a larger conversation for UW Madison web presence in general and content in general. But it's something that we're going to have to pay attention to because we are giving you a lot of flexibility, not only with the way that you can use text, but also with the way that you can use images, the way that you can create your own layouts, your own formats, and things like that. You do have to consider who is going to be using your content and how are they going to be using your content, and make sure that they can. And you have to think outside of your expected audience and instead consider the unexpected audience for your content. So it's an excellent question. It's a longer conversation, and we're hoping to have more information about said longer conversation in the future because there's lots of conversations going on about this on campus and in UW system as a whole. So Okay, back to the top and the anchor links. All right, let's talk about something else a little bit more juicy / interesting, and that's going to be tabbed content. So that was one of the things. Tab content was one of the big questions uh, when we did the user testing. That was one of the things that was missing, was the ability to create tab content. We had accordions, we had somewhat accordions, but we did not have anything for tabs. Andy, one of the developers on our team, has been working very hard on getting to a point of a version of the tab content. So now what I can do is I can just go in and type in tab, and right there is the option UW tabs. So I will add that block in. And now we're kind of just working with the settings of it in essence of trying to set it up right. So if I click on the tab, one thing that you'll notice right now, and this is something that you're just going to have to be aware of as we move forward, especially if we do user testing. And I'm not sure how this is going to look when we get to the endpoint, but you'll notice that this little selector shows up over my tabs. So if you need to get to the other tabs, you can click out, click on the next one, click out, click on the next one there. So just be aware of that. It looks weird, but it's something that we're aware of, and we're kind of taking a look at to see if we can rectify that. So anyways, click on the tab. Over here on the right side of my settings shelf, I can give it a tab label. So we'll just call it, tab 1. And then we can go here, we'll do tab 2. Go here, and we'll do tab 3. And so now I can just grab some content, drop it in here, and this is a grouping of content. So now I can add an image, for example. So if I go into my media library, we will let's grab Doctor Strange. I can align him to the center. Type live, they say. There we go. I can add some stuff in there about that. And so now I can do another tab, and I can add some more content. And then so on down the line. And then to add more tabs, I just click the plus sign right here, and that just keeps adding more and more tabs to the tab group there. There is a best practice, or I don't know about best practice, but we'll say best practice. We'll say it that way. Don't do too many tabs. In my testing, I was adding tabs galore. We haven't put a limit on it yet. We're going to trust you all to make good decisions. But really don't. You don't want to overwhelm the content with tabs. That's not what the tab group is meant for. It's meant for bursts of information, not all of the information. If you have this much content to throw into a singular tab group, maybe some of this stuff deserves to be on their own pages versus trying to jam it all into one singular page. I don't think that's going to be your best user experience for this type of content. All right, let me just take a peeky here. Concerned about the number of people that don't spend a lot of time doing website design. That's a conversation that Jenna and I have actually had a few times, and we've touched on as a team before. The concept of content editors and content creators versus designers, and the idea of yeah, I guess what Sarah said, the ability to just kind of hop in and mess around with stuff there. That's kind of, it's kind of the Pandora's box of what we're trying to provide to you all. Is we really do want to provide you all with more ability to do things, more options to design, more things to think outside of the box, but with it comes the responsibility of doing good content design, good content creation. And yes, I can tell you all till I'm blue in the face what's good and what's not good to me, but I can't tell you what's good and not good to you and your audience. All you can do is know what your audience needs and deliver the content in as simple and effective as of a way as possible. Um, you guys have heard me talk in the past about the fact that I'm not a flashy designer. I'm a very simplistic designer. So more pop, more flash, more things happening on the screen don't mean much to me when I've got to work to find the thing that I'm trying to get to. So think about that as you are building out your content or as you are working with the other editors who work with the content. Keep it simple, get the information in front of your audience, and then get feedback from your audience to know what else they need or if they need it differently.
I'll also just call out kind of something that Ketter added to the conversation in the chat, which is like patterns. I know that the question was maybe more so like, can a user come in and just like go edit something? But just noting like from a starting point of the page or creating content, patterns should really help with those who might not feel like they're designers to be able to come in and have really nice, nicely designed content. And you just have to swap out maybe some text or imagery, which is really helpful. So that will be a really nice shift for those users. And then also just touching on there, like the second part of Sarah's question was relating to users maybe potentially messing up content that was already there. And Andrea noted like, yes, this environment is a little bit different, but generally you will be able to come in and see the content and be able to like highlight, change some text. And as Andrea points out, revision history and the undo button are also helpful tools there. I'll also just note, and I'll put this in the thread about that, but if you're feeling like you'd like to kind of understand the experience a little bit better, I just wanted to remind folks that there's the WordPress Playground. I just added the link in the chat there. Now, a good thing to note is that this playground does not have our theme active, so there's a number of features that might not be available in the theme or might look different. But if you're just generally trying to get an understanding of what Gutenberg is like, maybe you didn't have an opportunity to do user testing or you want to familiarize yourself, that playground does offer an opportunity for familiarizing yourself with that editing environment. And you could even have team members test as well.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. So that's tabs. It begins a broader conversation of everything that we're talking about as a group. So, all right. Okay. So next up is embedding content. The embed content is a similar thought as to what we have now, which is taking something from an external site, YouTube, Kaltura. There are other options in there. So I'll just get rid of tab over here, move my cursor on down. I don't have good examples of this for some of the things that you all might use, but if I scroll on down to the bottom to our embeds area, so one of the things that we have been working on is making sure that we add or we make available all of the various embed options that you might make use of, as well as things that WordPress by default allows for. So if you remember, our embed policy is we kind of lean on what WordPress does, but then from a request standpoint, it has to be something that is UW supported and UW used before we want to add it to our embed functionality. So you'll see over here on the left side, there's a number of them. There's the base embed option there. There's a Twitter/X embed, YouTube, etc. down the line. You'll also notice down here we have Tableau, Kaltura, RedCap, ArcGIS, and Box and Airtable. Again, those are specific to ones that we have made available. And WordPress has obviously the ability for us to add those in here as well. So if I wanted to, I'll just grab the YouTube one because it is the simplest, but I just grab the block. I can go grab the URL and click embed. And there we go. There is my YouTube embed right there. I can also do, if I click down here, I'll go grab Kaltura. Now, if you'll remember for Kaltura, something fun happened a little while ago where Kaltura changed the way that the embed functionality works. You have to go to the OEmbed tab when you are sharing a published Kaltura video, but then you have to make sure that you choose the OEmbed player in the list to get the right link here to embed there. So I'll grab that, drop that in, embed, and there's the next one there. So that's how you do the embed functionality. Nothing exciting. Sarah points out like Betty Block's functionality. It's funny because the people that I have shown the UW theme, the block editor stuff to in the past, they immediately go to like Wix and those other content management systems that are using more of a drag and drop functionality. So it's not something that is unique. It's just something that is new for us in the WiscWeb sphere of things. Any reason why we don't allow for Instagram embeds, particularly for embedding official UW social media profiles?
I can take that one, Matt, if you're.
Go ahead. Yeah, go
I'll
ahead.
just officially state, yeah. So it's not that necessarily we're saying that people aren't using that on campus or something. We're really just trying to rebuild what exists already in WiscWeb and the UW theme. So these were the embeds that we had provided, and I will note that generally we are swaying towards functionality that is campus supported, has a team around it, has been tested for accessibility, things like that. Also note that there have been historically some integrations that WordPress core offered, like the Twitter embed coming in. And as Andrea just noted, there is a limitation with Meta specifically, who owns Facebook and Instagram, with the ability to kind of provide an OEmbed. So kind of a number of reasons there, but generally it's not that like we wouldn't explore this in the future. It's just not something that we're going to do right now, but also we might be fully limited from being able to accommodate that need.
Yeah, and I was actually looking for that specific article because of the fact that I remember in the past, Meta, Facebook/Instagram, just stopped working one day for us, and we had to reconcile with the fact that WordPress/us serve at the limitation of what these external companies do. Most of you will enjoy the WP data tables / Google Sheet stuff that we've been enduring over the past month or so with what happened there. Yes, we could keep trying to make something work and then have to retry again once something changes. Or we can just simply go with what we know works for us and keep it, again, simple for everybody. So that's kind of the decision point that we have to make. Yeah. No. It's
there maybe like their support. I know that like historically some of their support documentation is a little bit out of date.
This is
That's a good point.
WordPress.com as well, which is different.
Good point. Yes, WordPress.com is different.
So yeah, WordPress.com is where you can go to have your own WordPress site, whereas WordPress.org is where we go for development functionality and plugins and things of that nature. So different endpoints for that particular conversation. So okay. That's the embeds thing. Again, we know the embeds thing will be a continued conversation into the future because it is something that is regularly requested / conversed about within our team as well as amongst you as users of the service. So we do know it is something that we have to often be the bearers of bad news because we can't meet every need. We try to as best we can, but we simply can't for reasons that Jenna stated earlier. Okay, so that's that. So let's last touch on a couple of new patterns that also exist out here. So the first one that we're going to go to, again, If I go to all, there are a lot of patterns in here. And what you'll notice is in patterns, there is pagination as well. I didn't realize this, so I kept looking for the one I wanted and couldn't find it. And then I realized, oh, there's those down there. So the two that you'll notice here are the quote and the statistics one. I'll grab the quote real quick and just drop that out. The pattern comes onto the page. It is our UW centered quote. So I can change this image if I wanted to. I can add the text. And that's how you do that one. I can mess with the image size here if I want to. Yeah, nothing too excited about that one other than the fact that we're trying to create quick ways for you to do some of those things. Remember, there's also a UW quote block that we have that's a different style of a quote that you can use, that you can throw into there as well. Excuse me. I have a puppy who's whining to get in here with me. Hello, sir. Okay. And then lastly, there is the statistics pattern. So if I go back to my inserter option, go to patterns, I'll just type in stat and I'll grab that and pull that down to here. And then we've added this statistics block. This is definitely something that people have been asking for quite some time, is this ability to highlight some sort of numerical information, be it obviously in this case ranking, number 1, number 2, number 3. I could also change this to be something else, you know. Okay. Sorry. You know. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but this is a general idea of the stats there. So, and then there's obviously a call to action button down here as well. One of the things that I do want to mention is we are creating, by we, I mean the developers. I'm just the guy who cheers you on. The developers are creating a number of patterns to sort of meet the various needs that we have either seen in the past, been requested of in the past, or are anticipating in the future. So our hope is that you all as users will get comfortable with using patterns to deliver your content. For those of you who are adventurous enough or want to sort of have a little more control over it, one of the things that I am going to have to teach you all about, and I've done it in the past videos, but I will again, is these patterns and these ideas are based on grouping of blocks. They are blocks of content grouped together to create a singular piece of content. So you could figure out your own pattern ideas and create them so that you could use them over and over if you feel comfortable doing that type of thing. It is a learning experience. You do have to learn how to do this type of stuff so that you're comfortable with creating these types of things. But the benefit is some of the control is in your hands then. And also you can take some of these patterns and do some different things with them if you wanted to. If I wanted to change the sizes of these particular heading values, I could. I could change color to other accessible, safe colors, things of that nature. So, you know, there are a number of options that you're going to have at your fingertips. It comes back around to what Sarah said initially at the very beginning of this whole process, which is there's lots of opportunities there. There's lots of opportunities to do something that maybe isn't the best decision, but at the same time, it's a learning process. What's going to work? What's not going to work? It comes back around to I think this is one of the things that I've been saying on my KB training side of things, but it's going to become more prevalent now with more people using WiscWeb, more people using the UW theme when we release it. At a certain point, you have to let go of ownership of this content. You're creating it, you're delivering it, but it's not for you. It is for your audience. So you have to not think about how do I want to deliver this content? You have to think about how do my users need to be able to get to this content? And that's a user experience thing. It absolutely is a thing of, and it has to be a comfort thing. You have to understand that what you want won't always be what's best for the content delivery. What's best is how easily a person can consume that content, because that's what web stuff is about. Is I need this stuff and I need it now. So that's my soapbox. But it is true. It is something that I've been sort of getting into the habit of telling people is you have to sort of let go of ownership. Yes, you create it. Yes, you're putting it out there, but it's not for you. It's for others. And the others is what matters most. So that's what we had for today. Any questions? I know we're at 12. We got some time left. That's a good question, Rachel.
I can answer that one.
Jenna unmuted, so I'll
Yeah.
let
So for our migration, I can kind of just rehash what we had kind of been putting out as information because I think it's a good reminder. So we haven't had a chance to choose a target launch date yet. What we're really trying to do is suss out how things are going with the Workday transition. We know that a number of folks who are in sort of web editor roles are also in IT roles, and they are impacted by that shift. So we are going to kind of wait it out a little bit to see how that transition goes before we announce a launch date. But I will say we are still targeting fall 2025 for launch. And what we plan to do for WiscWeb users specifically, I know this audience might not entirely be WiscWeb, but if you are a WiscWeb user, we do have some information actually on this page. If you scroll down, Matt. So keep going just a little bit more. Is your site in WiscWeb? Yep, that link there. You can go ahead and click that. That is WiscWeb specific migration information that you can kind of take a look at. Essentially, we would, when the new theme becomes available, as we're able, we'll be taking requests to transition your site over. We would be picking up your current site, a copy of it, and placing it in new infrastructure. And then from there, you could work in sort of like a project environment while your old site remains live. The migration period of the point at which you kind of like work on that migration will at least be offering a year. We hope to offer more if we're able, but generally you'll have ample time to make the switch, but there will be sort of a benefit to not letting it go too long, because while things are in that sort of like migrated editing mode, you will need to keep making updates to both places. So if you had new content that you added to your live site, you would also then have to manually add it to that project space where you're kind of working on the migration. Does that help answer your question, Rachel? Yeah. Okay, cool. And then I would encourage you to read through that information in that link that Matt provided, because there's a bunch of other info in there, including some frequently asked questions that we've received. Jim asks, have you built side navigation menu patterns for deeper sites with child pages? Side patterns. We are currently, okay, so Ketter kind of wrote back, do you have an example of an element you're referring to? And the example is the links block on that emed page. I don't know if you can click on that. Yep.
I'm thinking it's maybe the jump links at the top there, the in-page links. Is that kind of what is that what you're referring to? Okay, yeah, that's what he's referring
Yeah,
to.
that's
Do
a
you have
group of links. Go ahead,
Okay.
Ketter.
Oh no, that's exactly what I was gonna say.
Yeah, group of links is something that uh, we do have built out in the Gutenberg theme, but I'll let Ketter touch on like um, the pattern side of it.
Yeah, we don't have like a specific pattern for that right now, but we are like working on that. So I was going to mention for others to like you'll still be able to create it without a pattern. But to have a pattern that's like pre-made for you, you can drag and drop. And Matt, you can make that one column in the block setting sidebar. But so you'll be able to create this even without a pattern, or you can even use the list block to do something like this. But yeah, the goal will be that we will have a pattern for this, so it makes it easier to drag and drop on the page. Whether or not that's for the fall release, it just depends on like how far we get with our current tasks and whether or not we can sneak that in. But it like will be there eventually.
And I think like an important piece is like the migration should accommodate for that
Yes.
structure. So like if you have that set up in your current state, like it'll still migrate into the new equivalent of group of links and be like a side-by-side style.
I'm just messing around right now because I know. So it automatically created the row block when I dragged it out to there, and I know columns is the better way that you would create this. Obviously, looks terrible, but I would you'd do some design layout concepts here, wide width, make some changes to the way that this is spaced and things of that nature. But it's that general idea that you'd create those links. Oh boy, that dog needs a long walk. He is whining away out there.
Yeah, I was going to mention too, like just in case it's interesting for others, because I know we've mentioned a lot about like design and patterns, and there's some flashy stuff, and that's also not like our focus is just doing flashy patterns. Like we're working on also like things that are just text only. So something that we heard from a lot of you in user testing is that like, well, images might not actually be appropriate for my content, and you might want like just like 3 columns of text with headings, and so we're also thinking about you all as that user type too. And like one of the things that kind of helps anchor our decisions is I will put it in here. But when we did some user research, and a lot of you all here participated in that survey, was this core persona of communications coolery, where your role might be doing web content as other duties as assigned, and so you might not have a lot of time to think about even web design. And so like Gutenberg is great for solving that challenge of needing to think less about that, because we'll be creating patterns that have been vetted, with branding and accessibility, so that you can focus more on just your content strategy, which is the thing that like matters the most for the users who trying to get to the content that you need and where you want to get them to go. So I think Gutenberg does a good job of like getting to the heart of that. But what we also heard from you all too is that you do want more design options. So there's kind of like a balance in how we're approaching that to make sure we can kind of serve both of those needs.
And just a shout out right before I know Matt, I know Doggy's on cam, but just a shout out to Ketter because she's been doing a ton of user research. She pointed out earlier like 16 different universities that she looked at for something to see how our peers are doing things, but also that really influences the designs that we're doing. And she does a great job of kind of balancing that research both on campus and in the other institutions. So great job, Ketter. It's bringing us some wonderful patterns.
Thanks, Jenna.
Yeah, I mean there's no limit of kudos that we can send to the design team and the developers for the work that they do for all the stuff that you've seen so far and all the stuff that you will see in the future. It's pretty fun. It's pretty fun to get excited about what we're gonna deliver for you guys.
Yeah, I don't know if Julie Schroeder's in here. She might be, but yeah, Kate Price and Julie Schroeder working on us with patterns. Like what's been really fun, the whole team, UW theme team that's working on this together, even Center for UX too, is like everyone has a really good shared passion about user experience. So it's helpful that everyone kind of has that lens. So designs we've been creating are also with functionality in mind, purpose.
That's awesome.
Alrighty, we will stop the recording here.